Hello, everyone. We are here for an exciting episode. We're here to talk to Eric Purdue. Now, I've been watching Eric Purdue on Facebook for a long time, and I always think, who is this Eric guy? Because I was telling him when I met him, I was like, you have main event energy. That's all I know. So we're probably in for a main event today. Um, Eric, who are you? I mean, where do you hail from? I know you just moved. What's your sun, moon, and rising?
That's a lot of questions. Who am I? Uh, I was born in central Illinois in a small town. Um, let's see. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess I moved to Chicago when I was 18, and when I was 19, or actually I was still 18. I was looking to learn magic, specifically like ceremonial magic, 'cause I read some books about the Golden Dawn and all that. And Starhawk. I read Starhawk.
Oh, nice. Is
And
Starbucks kind of a hippie, aren't they?
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, this is late '80s, so there wasn't much out there really, and there was no internet. And I'm a graybeard. And anyway, so I mean, to make a very long story short, I accidentally met up with this guy. I was doing music at the time. He was a musician, and he was like, "Oh, I know this guy who really knows what he's talking about," and blah 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 blah. He has a whole temple, and here's his number. I ended up calling the number. Um, and after talking to this guy for hours, I was hooked. And it's like, he gave me what I later found out was a Santeria shell reading. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was Egyptian, just it looked, I don't know. I didn't know what it was. Well, he was an artist and everything looked kind of Egyptian in the room. So I thought it was Egyptian. And he started telling me about my life. And things I never told anybody. And I'm like, okay, I just want whatever this guy's got. I was hooked. And so I basically went there. I didn't know it was Santeria for probably about 3 months.
Mm.
Wait, I still don't know what a Santeria shell reading is.
And I don't know what a
Okay, well,
graybeard is.
do we know what Santeria is? Let's go there.
Well,
Or should I
for the viewers who don't
start?
know, tell us all.
Okay. Um, I don't call it Santeria. I call it Lukumi because a lot of us don't call it Santeria, but it's an
Yeah, I
Afro-Cuban
never
religion.
call it Santeria.
You
Yeah.
never call it.
You never use any of those words.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
yeah,
only call it Santeria at Christmas.
Santeria Christmas, Santo Claus. Um, yeah, it's an Afro-Cuban religion. It was brought over through the slave trade from and the modern day Nigeria and Benin to Cuba, also Brazil, but Brazil has a different variant. Um, you could call it very loosely a sister religion to Voodoo. There are a lot of similarities and not similarities, um, but if you're to paint this with a very very large broad brush, you could say they're sister religions. Um, and Yeah. Anyway, so it has lineages. You have initiations. There's priesthoods. Lineages go way back. You have to know your own lineage if you get initiated
Hmm.
as a priest. Um, and the shell readings. This is like our main oracle, basically. There's 256 signs. It's not easy to learn. And each of those signs can come in a variety of orientations. So it's pretty complicated. And he just kind of blew me away with that. He just spontaneously did this.
Wait, why
Um,
is it called a shell reading? What does that mean?
that's why I'm calling it. It's not called that. It's called Lagoon.
Oh. Do they use shells for it?
Yeah, they're 16 cowrie shells. Like they're yay big.
Oh, I
Okay,
see.
interesting. Wait, I want to know
Yeah.
what a graybeard is.
What a graybeard?
Yeah, is that like a a polar bear? No, that's a different thing.
Yeah, it might be, but maybe yeah. Um, Now this is just a joke about my advancing age.
Really, I thought it was like a magical term. If you're have a
Gandalf?
white beard and you are magical, then you're a gray beard.
No, no. I mean, if you want to be, sure. I don't judge.
Well, I
Yeah.
think you're a white beard.
I'm a white beard, yeah. Increasingly.
Okay.
Um,
So you're in this lineage that's like a religious lineage kind. Well, I don't know if religious is the right term.
yeah, you can say that. Yeah. I mean, it's so I started serious. I mean, I started going there when I was 19, and I did a lot of these sort of like initial things people tend to do when they start to become interested in their religion. There's little ceremonies they do, which can vary a little bit here and there, but basically, I did all that initial stuff, and I was did that for 10 years, and then I got initiated after 10 years as a priest, and that was 25 years ago. So I've been doing this for a total of 35 years, and
Wow.
that's sort of how I think of myself spiritually. It's pretty much ingrained in my head. I wasn't looking for it. Obviously, I'm not African or Cuban. Um, no one cares, honestly. Um, and
So it's not
the
appropriative. You can do it if you're a gray beard.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, well, it's appropriate if you're making it up as you go,
Okay.
and you know what I mean. It's like it's not appropriate if you're going through the correct channels and you're because really the way the religion works is through lineage, and you know the Orishas, which are sort of like the deities in their religion. You know, you can't even get any of those unless it's through people who already have them. So it's very much like an apostolic line of succession that happens. You
Wait,
just don't
how do
sit
you
there and
get
like
them? What are these they're
they're I have them covered up behind me, so I want them on camera. But they're they're deities, and most people have a certain. There's about I would say seven or so that most people have, and the number might be off. I'm just kind of like off the top of my head.
What do you mean
Roughly
by have, though?
they physically give you them. You have to pay money, but
They're objects?
most of their objects, most of them come in pots, like a soup tureen, and some of them are not in pots, but most of them are. And yeah, there's stuff inside of them. They're consecrated, and that's your spirit that you work with. You can work with that for the rest of your life. It's yours. And each one is sort of like if you want to compare them to like any other kind of like polytheistic religion. There's debate whether these are gods or not, but I personally say they are. But just like any polytheistic religion, they sort of like each one has a sort of thing they tend to work with the most. So, but usually they're given to you because you need something.
Hmm.
When you get initiated, everybody gets the same five,
Hmm.
and sometimes some people get an extra like a sixth one. Some people could get more than that when they get initiated. That's sort of determined ahead of time.
Hmm. But we
But
still don't
almost
know what
everybody
they
gets
are.
like five or six. Sorry.
We still don't know what they are.
Okay. Well, you want me to like name them? Is that what you want?
Well, like, are they? I didn't, JC,
I'm trying to
I
like
could just go
answer.
on to the next concept and just be,
No, it's fine. This is sort of like I've been living with this for a long time, so I might need clarification what you're asking.
this is so
Oh,
Mercury
yeah.
and Pisces right now.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's like so far I've I understand, I think, that they are gods or godlike. Their physical manifestation in this realm is something
Correct.
that can be contained in a pot-like object and transferred from one person to another, and
Right.
that like they're represented there's not just like just the one that you have, but this same God is represented in other people's realities as well, in other pots and stuff, but
Correct.
the one that you have and the one that somebody else has that got initiated will either they have like maybe they have the same vibration or the same meaning, or they're pieces that are connected of the same spirit or something like that, and they
Yeah,
have certain tendencies or like
so I'll
powers
give an
or
example. I'll give an example. So when you get initiated, there is five orishas that everybody has. Elegua, which is like a trickster deity, um, little bit like Hermes, if you want to say that. Um, he's usually represented as a cement head. There's stuff inside of the cement head, um, and so you get that. You have Obatala, who's sort of like a father figure sort of deity. He deals like usually like it kind of deals with people who need like a lot of like peace and calm. Like he kind of has that effect on people. Um, Oshun, which is the river, a little bit Venusian in some ways, like kind of like loves feminine spiritual, not spirituality, but yes, um, sensuality.
Hmm.
Um, Yemaya, which is the ocean, sort of like a mother-like figure. And then Shango, who's the Orisha of thunder, and he also like very kingly, very Zeus, Jupiter
Hmm.
type of energy. And those are the ones that everybody gets.
Hmm.
And you are like every person has an Orisha that's like their main one. That's also determined for you. You don't pick it.
Hmm.
That means that every initiation is a little bit different, which is what determines what Orishas you get
Interesting.
when you
What
get
is the
initiated. So
Rishi of raging?
sorry.
I only got one, and it was the one where you rage.
Yeah, there you go. There's a couple of those. You
Just
probably have
kidding.
both.
I
You
actually
have
am
both
trying
of
to.
this.
I'm going to change the subject because
I,
actually I
I
want to
got
get
that
to
one.
Agrippa. I want to. I want to get to
I,
Agrippa, but
I
um,
got that one. Hey, that's what I was initiated. That's my tutor Orisha. He's like fire and all that.
why aren't you in Aries?
I am.
So we're working on your sun, moon, and rising now. So tell us your sun, moon, and
Oh,
rising.
okay. So sun is Aries, moon is Virgo, rising is Sagittarius.
So are you like aggressively critical then? No, I'm just kidding.
Not in my old age. I'm getting gentle in my old age.
Nice, nice. Yeah,
Um,
I know an Aries with a Virgo moon really closely, and yeah, like he's been a beautiful critiquer of mine for like 20 years.
okay.
But yeah,
By the way, with the Orisha, I know we're kind of moving on, but it's I'm trying to. It's hard to like put this in a nutshell, but it's basically like arguably a polytheistic religion with a very defined structure. Um, and the individual experience is going to be very different because everybody has different needs, so it's pretty open in that way. But it's a lifetime of practice. I mean, it can get very complex. You get more reaches as you go on because you have different needs as you get older. I have like 20 something of them right now.
wow, you have a lot of needs
Um,
right now.
they're scattered around the house. I have some outside, some by the front door. I have some next to me, some behind me, some elsewhere. Um, but yeah, so it's like because we're all individuals, we have different needs, and these are all there to help you know fix problems that we have, and also to sort of strengthen the weaknesses that we have. You get special readings, um, especially when you get initiated. That talks about your entire life with
Hmm.
recommendations for your life, um, warnings, that kind of a thing. And there's a couple of those that you get also throughout this practice, and so you get a lot of guidance. Some of it isn't very pleasant all the time, but yeah. So it's just a very like powerful individualistic or individual practice, but you have to work within a community to do it. You can't do it by yourself. And
because
when I was
it's
initiated,
other people are giving you this advice, or it's coming through them, or like,
there's special readings, but it's you're usually these are you have like they call them houses, but they're like congregations centered around a teacher,
mhm.
and but they're not really that exclusive because we also work with other houses, like friends. Like initiations require, I mean, a minimum. I'm probably underselling it, but it's at least a dozen people have to be there. It's not it's a communal event.
So in the question of who you are, this is what came up, and so what I'm hearing you say is that who you are is a very kind of spiritual and kind of, I hate to use the word magical because I've been using it all day, but okay, you're kind of a
I
magical
wasn't there.
occultist. You're kind of an occultist kind of magical-y person.
Yeah, that's what makes me tick. And when I got initiated, when I got the big reading, I was recommended to study astrology.
I see.
That's really why that's why I pursued it initially. I thought astrology was kind of bullshit.
Mm, hmm. Yeah.
I
Okay.
like the idea of it, but I thought it was bullshit.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you still think that?
No, I changed my mind, obviously.
Okay. Good.
Um, it took me really finding the right astrology for me to be convinced by it.
Hmm.
So
Interesting. Okay, well, we're here to talk today about your work on Agrippa. So, I had to look up Agrippa. There's a few Agrippas, but it looks like Agrippa so I actually screen grabbed this so I could
Heinrich Cornelius.
so he's Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa von Nettesheim.
Yes,
So he lived in 1486 to 1535.
yes,
So we're
that's correct.
talking
Born in Germany.
so this is the Renaissance era.
Yes, like squarely in the Renaissance.
Okay. So I could read this, but why don't you tell us about Agrippa from your perspective?
So I guess we would define him as like a middle class guy. His family had a little bit of money. Um, he, like many people who were educated, studied, basically went into medicine. But education back then meant that you learned a lot of things, among them astrology. So astrology was definitely part of it from the beginning. He was a language nerd. He could speak Latin fluently as a teenager. Um, and after he finished school, he went through, he wrote a lot of smaller works, but, he ended up like lecturing on the Corpus Hermeticum in universities. And also, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Johannes Reuchlin, who he was kind of the guy who created Christian Kabbalism.
Okay.
And so he lectured widely on Reuchlin. Now, Agrippa, as far as I know, didn't really know that Christian Kabbalism started with Reuchlin. I think he probably just assumed there was just one Kabbalah, and that's what he did. That's what he talked about. But Reuchlin was a major influence, a rough contemporary. They did overlap a little bit. Um, and he, in his 20s, went to Paris. This is not really in order, but he has a weird life. And he was a physician. Um, he ended up working for the Holy Roman Emperor as an archivist, possibly a spy.
Hmm.
He was a soldier for a short time, and he basically just went around a lot. And in his 20s, he was in Paris and got into this like circle of friends who were all interested in magic or the occult. I should say magic because the occult's what Agrippa means by occult is what we mean by occult. Um, and anyway, it was a circle of friends. They were secret. Um, we don't know if they actually did magic together. It was probably someone academic. I am pretty sure they were trading a lot of notes. But when Agrippa was about 27, he wrote the first draft of three books of occult philosophy.
Okay.
If that one makes you feel bad about your life, about what you did when you were 27.
Why? Because it's so thick.
Um, it was pretty big, and the scope is just huge.
Yeah, I have that book
Um,
somewhere.
what we have is different than the first draft. It was a little bit smaller. It was never published.
Uh,
What language did he
Um,
write it in?
Latin.
okay.
And at one point, he started a correspondence with a famous abbot named Johannes Trithemius, who, he was an abbot, he was a Christian, but he was interested in magic. And he wrote some books on, like, one of his famous ones was drawing crystals into crystal. Um, and he also wrote a book on cryptography, which is semi-magical themed, but sort of not. And actually, his book was used. It's still studied in cryptography. Anyway, so Agrippa was in correspondence with him, and he sent an early draft to Trithemius, and the letter that accompanied that draft is in the final version of three books, as is Agrippa's reply and all that, Trithemius' reply. But yeah, so Trithemius read it. He encouraged him to keep going, and then Agrippa just kind of dropped it and ended up doing other stuff. And he eventually did publish a bunch of other books. He wrote sort of a book on proto-feminism, which by today's standards wasn't terribly feminist, but by Renaissance standards, it was pretty pretty ahead of his time.
Hmm.
He wrote a book which is fairly famous called "On the Vanity of the Arts and Sciences," where he basically is kind of lampooning all the authority figures of the day who thought they knew everything about education, science, magic, religion, everything else. He basically, throughout his life, ran up against these people because um, he was kind of an anti-authoritarian in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And so this book was kind of a little bit of a satire, and each chapter was like you take a certain area of learning, and basically it's talk about how we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
So
At the end of the day,
we
only
don't
God
know what
knows.
we're talking about. We don't
We
know
don't know what we're talking about.
okay. Yeah.
This is all human. This is all human attempts to understand reality, right? And
Well, back
um,
then we didn't know what we were talking about, but now we do, right?
Hmm.
sure, of course we do. We know everything now. Because of that book, um, some people, because part of that book was excerpted in the first English translation of three books, and so some people thought it was actually part of it. And this idea came out that Agrippa used to be really interested in the occult and then renounced it.
Hmm.
But I don't think it's true because that book came out, and then a few years later, he revised three books and ended up publishing it. So it's like he did. I don't think he renounced anything, honestly. Um, but he was sort of like I want to say that in the Vanity of the Arts and Sciences, he was kind of like say, look, when I was young and foolish, this is some of the stuff I believe. But I just think that look, we just don't know what we're talking about, really. Um, and I think that I mean he basically revised three books of occult philosophy after he published that book.
Hmm.
So make that what you will.
Hmm.
Um, but the final product was a much larger book and a little bit better. He was compelled to do it because somehow some copies of his original version leaked out, and he really did, by this time he was like almost 50, and he really didn't like this book that he wrote when he was 27 or however old he was. To be going around, he's like, well, look, that doesn't really reflect me anymore. That old book, so I wanted to revise it and have control over it.
Hmm. Okay.
That's basically what we have. That was the last book he published. He was pretty prolific. I mean, he wrote books on various biblical books, the Corpus Hermeticum, tons and tons of letters. He wrote the feminist work. So I mean, it's pretty. He was pretty prolific. There was a.
It
Do we,
reminds me of Porphyry of Tyre, like who just wrote on like
yeah,
vegetarianism, and I mean he was a Neo-Platonic philosopher, but I mean yeah, there's some of these people who kind of write on everything. Okay, so I'm just looking up the three books of occult philosophy. So this, oh wait, this is yours. This is your cover. Three books of, is
yep,
that you?
that is me.
Okay. Wow, I really like that cover. That looks very
They
magical.
did a good job. Yeah,
It looks like a magical graybeard made that. $98. Okay, hold on. This is
it's a
awesome.
it's 7 pounds. It's a 7 pound book.
Oh no, it's worth $98. I just was glad you priced it well. Okay, so is this is also
That's
okay, so this is so
that's not
there
me.
what is it?
That's not mine. I don't even know what that one is.
So it
I mean,
looks
I know
like
what it is, but
wait a second, it looks like there's tons of translations of Agrippa.
there's actually three. Um, so all the
There's three translations of the
there's
three
three
books.
translators.
That's so ironic.
Okay, so here's the thing. there's only one translation until recent years. Yeah, that's the Tyson. That's the most popular. That's the other one that's popular.
No, the
That's
most
not
popular is
Tyson's
yours. We're
translation.
manifesting.
But mine's well, yes. Llewellyn's hard to compete with. Um,
This is the most
okay,
popular one.
yes, this is the best one.
That-
So, okay, and this gets confusing to people. There was only one English translation until roughly when mine came
When did yours
out.
come out?
Mine came out in 21.
Okay.
2021.
How much?
2021. There was another translation that came out about 5 minutes before mine
Oh,
by Paul Summers Young. Um, and
And
that's it. It's just these three. The other one that everybody really refers to is this one is a translation that was made in the 1600s. And the Tyson edition that you showed, Tyson basically took that 17th century translation and like modernized the words and made paragraphs and made some of the sentences shorter and made a bunch of incorrect commentary.
okay. So that's the Virgo moon right there. It's incorrect commentary. How do we know it's
Or it
not
is.
to someone else?
Oh, come on.
We're not
well,
supposed to get in an
wait,
argument,
When
Eric.
when okay, so here's an example.
Eric is against arguing.
So
And Aries
here's
against
the
arguing, like what are you doing?
all right. You tell me if this is a subjective or not. In the Latin, there's a section where he talks about basically the right times to make a dream talisman, and so he gives these different conditions, and he goes. So in the Latin, he says, or in the ninth sign of perfection. Now we know what perfection means, right?
Mhm.
The Latin says is perfectio, which is perfection. And the 17th century translation translated it as perfection.
Wow.
And then Donald Tyson made a comment, made a footnote saying, "Oh, this is talking about during a full moon."
Oh, that is an error.
That's an error.
Yeah. Gosh, I thought every translation was correct.
No,
So,
no. One of the ones I found too is they have the stones for all the fixed stars,
uh,
and everybody was translating the stone for Regulus as granite. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, and I looked at it really closely, and I realized that the word is for garnet.
oh, interesting.
And just like in English, like the difference between garnet and granite is like one letter.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's the same thing in Latin. It's one letter different.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. It's fun when you find those little tiny errors. I mean, like in sign language interpreting, it's like, do we fix our team on little tiny details? In some ways we say the zoomed out version of the translation is more important than these like micro details. But it's that's why it is nice to have several translators on the same thing because they'll catch different things, because that
Mhm.
is a mistake. That's an incorrection, right? Like some things in a translation are subjective, right? Like there could be different ways of looking at the same
Sure,
choice,
sure.
but sometimes it's just incorrect, flat out.
It's just an wrong word. What I try to do with my footnotes too is everything that I changed from the original English translation or the Tyson version of it, um, I footnoted. And I just footnoted and said what the Latin said.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I'm just like, if you disagree with me, there's a Latin. I mean, you can say what you want to say
Oh,
about it.
that's really smart. So let me ask you, did you refer to the other English translations when you were doing your translation, or did you just go right
Yeah.
from the Latin?
Well, I would translate it and then like compare it.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, see, that's something I never did when I was translating Valens and stuff. I never looked at the other translations ever. So, but I'm not saying one way is
We
one
had to do
right.
it.
It's just a different experience, right? Like, but you.
Well, I think your motivation's different.
Mhm.
Like in a case like that, that's probably a different motivation. I was being very paranoid because that translation has been a mainstay of Western occultism for like what 400 years.
Oh, interesting. It would be like
And I mean,
retranslating the Bible or something.
it is. I mean, it's literally like a lot of parts of this book were used in like formulating the Golden Dawn, or all of these like kind of older esoteric books that like have incense recipes or like planetary correspondences comes from this book.
Hmm.
And so like and here I am like changing stuff around. I was really trying to be careful and to show my work because Yeah, you had the stone, that stone difference. There's like I discovered one. It was an incense for one of the stars. I can't remember which, and everybody translated it as carob as the incense. And I'm no stranger to weird incense ingredients, and I was almost ready to like let it go because the word is karabe, and karabe is not a word that's not really a common word. I couldn't even find the word. That's
Mm,
how uncommon it was. So I'm like, well, everybody's saying carob and it's karabe. Yeah, sure, whatever. But it's stuck in my head.
mm,
And so I found like this one guy who translated it as asphaltum. And I'm like, well, where'd you get it from? And he goes, oh, I got it from a 19th century apothecary book. So he gave me the link to the book. I found it. Sure enough, that's what they said. But I'm like, well, where did they get it from?
mm.
So I dug and dug, and I couldn't even tell you how I found it, but I realized that during during the medieval period, in this one region, the area between France and Spain, carabe was the word for amber.
Interesting.
So I'm like, yeah. So I was trying to be very careful. Like, okay, so if I'm going to put amber in there and everybody else is carob, I'm going to like say why.
So that's
you
it's really
know,
interesting. So, like, I want to know what was your motivation? Was it like this is kind of like a Bible of occult philosophy, and you were like, we just need more versions of it to have a check and balance? I mean, what was your motivation since it had already been translated?
um, well, I knew that there were a couple of sections that weren't translated correctly. Just without translating, I knew that was incorrect. Christopher Warnock would had also was basically just pointing this out back in the day that there were a couple of errors. And so just as on a lark, I'm like, okay, let me do the first 10 chapters and see what happens. And I wasn't really intending to finish it. I just wanted just to see. And yeah, I found things in the first 10 chapters, like just immediately. And then I started realizing that no one had ever tackled the sources. That happened very quickly as well. And I'm like, okay, we need to actually go do this from scratch. And the more I got into it, the more I realized that the English translation everyone was using was often misleading.
Hmm.
And there was one word he always like
Moist.
like whatever, yeah, moist. Like whenever the Latin would mention hyena, like as an animal for something, the other translator would just for some reason translate it as civet cat.
Huh.
And I just started noticing weird things. He just had these kind of weird habits. And I also realized very quickly that he didn't really understand astrology, even though it was like 60 came out in like 1640.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
but so I don't know. No one really knows who the translator was either.
So
So
I
it's
have a question
the
for you.
motivation.
I have a question for you. Do you feel emotional about your translation?
I think so.
Well, like, would you
Yeah.
defend it in a court of law?
Yeah.
Yeah. If
I
Wait,
someone,
don't think I have to, but
yeah,
what
what
emotion do you
emotions do you
feel?
feel?
um okay, I don't feel like that mine is perfect. Um
It's perfect.
it's perfect. But I do know I know the process that I went through to translate it, and I stand by what I did. And I have had to defend a couple of things in it on the internet, which is just like a court of law.
Yeah. It's like the
Um,
agora. It's like the public court of law.
what's
It's
that?
like the agora. It's like where you go down and
Oh,
all.
yeah, Agora, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So I feel like I spent 10 years on it. And if someone else wants to do the same thing and they think they can do it better, then go for it. I mean, it's not very easy to do.
Yeah.
I think I would do a better job today if I started today.
Yeah.
I get urges to want to start it over, but that's ridiculous, to do.
Yeah. Huh.
You are Virgo inspired, it seems.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, there you go.
awesome. Yeah,
Aggressively
that's
so.
Um,
awesome.
Yeah.
It's like use your talents and tendencies and proclivities, right? To create a great work, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I just tried to be very thorough with it because the deeper I got into it, I realized that I had to do it really well. You know, um,
Do you prefer your
but
translation?
yeah, No, absolutely.
So could you tell us if someone said, "What? Hi, my name's Sally. Which is the best translation of Agrippa?"
Yeah, I'll say mine.
Well, he
I
falls
mean,
to his.
I'm starting a course on the book on Saturday, and I do recommend my book for it. I said that's what I'm going to be using. If you can't afford it or you don't have it, you can still use the other translation. It's just that it may be a little bit of a different experience, but sure, go for it. I
Hmm.
will be talking about the differences, um, but yeah, no, I think mine is the best one.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Do you find that translating Agrippa has made you popular or get
Yeah,
the chicks? Sorry, that was inappropriate.
actually, well, that literally happened too. But
Do
Do
tell.
tell.
my partner, who isn't a chick, but my partner,
Get the people.
my partner, heard about me through my work. I was interviewing about the book on different podcasts, and they'd heard that, and so they messaged me, and they're like, "Hey, when's it going to come out?" I'm like, "I know you'll be the second to know when it does." And but anyway, we eventually met. I mean, they knew about me through the book, and I can also tell that I wasn't really toxic online.
Like
And
we are. We're like we are. No,
yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
kidding.
And yeah, we met, and that's, I mean, the only thing they really knew about me was that I wasn't toxic online, and that I did astrology, and I did this book, and so yeah, so in effect, yes, that is what happened. The
Wait, but
book
they
got
saw
me.
your picture on the book jacket?
My picture was not on the book jacket. I was
Mm.
online. I mean, I'm like
Oh,
just
I
like
see.
this, you know.
Mm. So
Oh,
are
oh,
you
I see.
toxic in real life but just not online? How does that
I
work?
try not to be either.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
I don't get involved in a lot of that stuff, so I try to be pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know. I'm still, well, I think with the translation stuff, it's like, I guess what is toxic online could be really debatable. I mean, like if you make a really dry 8-hour rebuttal, is that toxic? I don't really know. But if,
No, it's just kind of ponderous.
okay, so you can be ponderous, but you can't be emotional. That's
Well,
toxic.
but that's I know. I think emotional is fine. I think toxic is when you're sort of taking like you're um I don't know, like you're being like aggressive to people. You're being dismissive, not giving people space to sort of like find their way. It's like I
Hmm.
don't know. It's just there's like let me think for an example. I don't know. I can't think of examples right now because I'm on the spot. But
Trolls are
I think we know we see it.
trolls are kind of toxic. Isn't that their whole
They
thing?
can be. They can be.
Yeah,
I think trolls can, can occasionally do good, but if they're not like trying to hurt people or put people down,
yeah,
like
yeah.
sometimes like I do that a little bit myself, where it's just like, okay, I think this is silly. I'm just going to like make a joke about it. I'm not trying to like put anybody down or anything.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, 'cause the thing is like I mean, we're all reading the same books,
Well,
at
I
the end
mean,
of the
I
day.
think you bring up a good thing, and we kind of got into this when we met, and I think we have a little bit different perspectives. But I actually, I was kidding. We don't try to be toxic online, although we don't like shy away from arguments about things. But I've learned this from having translated one of the, you know, anthology of Valens. Is like ever since that happened, I got called crazy for 15 years for my work, and so that was kind of toxic. You know what I mean? And so
Sure,
I think I learned
sure.
to fight fire with fire. Is that toxic nowadays? I don't know, but I will say, like, I'm pretty fierce because of the ringer I was put through for having done that work. And so I guess when we look at the comparison of translations, which I know is one of your dreams, is to kind of do translation comparisons and have a think tank,
Mhm.
a lot like Project Hindsight, but it's like, how do we compare translations in a civil fashion with people being emotional about their translation? Like, how does that happen?
I think it's very simple because that's what I did with the three books. I just said, I'm like, JF, who was the original English translator, we don't know exactly who it was for sure. But JF said X. I'm saying Y. Here's the Latin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it always ends up going back to the Latin too, of just like, and yeah, this is this take, this is this take, and then now, and I think that's why it's interesting to see the different takes, is people who can't read the Latin can kind of grok a little bit about what the Latin might be saying. But really, the neutral mathematical approach is to have a linguist go back and unpack the Latin for the viewer of just like, okay, here's the construction, here's the endings of the verbs. This is where things are in a sentence. This is what it could
It
be.
isn't that complex though. That's the thing. Is like I hear this all the time with Latin. Everybody says, "Well, there's all this nuance." I'm like, I think Greek has a lot more nuance than Latin does.
Really?
And yes, yeah, but I mean Latin can have that. I think especially if you're doing like verse or things like that. I think there's a lot more nuance. But I mean, like usually where what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, this is an animal. This is a plant. This is a plant name. You're saying it's this plant. It's probably this other plant. You know, I'm not. This is not the nuance I'm talking about. Yeah, you can have nuance about verbs and maybe like a connotation that might be there. And I have footnotes like that too. Like, okay, well, I think the connotation here is this. Maybe I'll just like translate it literally and just say this is what I think the connotation is. You might do that,
Hmm. Yeah.
but but there's a lot of these things. It's like really it isn't that complex.
Hmm.
Like it's hard to learn, sure, but what I'm saying is like I don't know. I just don't really feel like it's this mushy, amoeba puzzle that you have to somehow put together. I mean, I think like I know I mean, at least from what I understand with Schmidt's approach to translating, because I don't know Greek at all.
Hmm.
Um, because sometimes there could be certain terms that are often used in this context, and maybe there's something to this. Sure,
Hmm.
that makes total sense. Let's dig into that. You know, that's a kind of a mushy thing
Hmm.
um, that I think could bear study.
Hmm.
But I think like when I was doing Agrippa, it was just a very like you said mathematical. That's almost what it felt like. It's like I'm not, like I don't know. It's like usually it was terminology.
Hmm.
So it wasn't heavy on the sarcasm. He didn't say like the opposite of what he meant or like
No,
use
not that
idioms
book.
or terms that people
It,
might
it
not know
it
now.
might
Well,
be
well,
different with
not
each
only
text. Yeah. Go ahead.
what's that?
The experience might be different with each text, depending how
Mhm.
philosophical or
Of
poetic it
course,
is, you know?
I,
Sorry.
I, I think that's true. I mean, I'm working on some now that I think do have a little bit of nuance. Um, Agrippa. So not only did I think Agrippa was speaking pretty straight,
Mhm.
but like almost the entire book is made up of quotations from other books. I mean, he basically is stringing quotations together. I mean, like a paragraph might have five sources in it, literally word for word from other books.
Hmm. Hmm.
Do those
Interesting.
So
books still
it's not.
exist?
Yeah, yeah.
What
In
do you
fact,
say?
the joke, I remember some occult writer back in the '90s said, "Oh, Agrippa found all these like forgotten libraries and monasteries." It's like, okay, you can find this on Google Books. Almost all of them you can find.
Hmm. So the
I
other,
found there's only like maybe I think maybe 5 or 10 that I couldn't find just because they were in like some library in a university in England I don't have access to. But
Mhm.
almost everything else I found through some library's website
Mhm.
and or Google.
So the other translators of Agrippa, one of them was no longer alive, right? And then one of them was.
Wait, one of
So
the translators of
there's three
Agrippa?
translations of Agrippa that exist, including yours,
Yes,
right? So one of
right.
them was way before your time, so that guy had passed.
1600s.
Okay, so you weren't really having anything to argue with him, and then this other guy. Have you met the other
Oh,
translator?
I do.
You do?
No, that translation had a lot of problems.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But he's not alive to
To
fight
fight
with you
back.
online. He
Yeah,
can't fight with
yeah.
you
No,
online.
no, I think that I do think that I don't think he had a lot of astrological knowledge.
Yeah, that's the thing with some astrological translations that there might be that's similar to the Riley translation of Valens is like I don't think he was an astrologer and like I think it's important
No,
to just
definitely
know
not.
about the translator, just know the biography of the translator and say this is the non-astrological take on Agrippa. We have Purdue's translation, which is the astrological take, and look at that.
But yeah, but there's a lot of issues like I'm trying to think of another example. Like there is one section where he talks about like the different like which planets rule the different parts of the body. And Latin sometimes can sort of like read like Yoda talking.
Hmm.
And so when you have a list, like it was like a paragraph of a list, and it was pretty apparent that the original translator got lost
Hmm.
and started like giving the wrong body parts to the wrong planets because
Hmm.
he got himself lost in the paragraph. There was one I was joking, but this was actually probably an issue with the topography of that he was using.
Hmm.
Um, but he translated the body part for Mars as the buttocks,
Yeah,
but it was actually the nostrils.
interesting. So those are
And the
legit
reason why I say
errors.
this, there's one letter that he was wrong.
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
Brazil move. It was it was a fly in the typewriter.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
um, so what do you think about that? The fact that translation is an imperfect art form.
Is it imperfect? Yeah, of course.
So how does your
Yeah.
Virgo moon handle that? That like even the best translation is going to have nits in it.
Oh, I'm okay with that. I mean, the moon's only in rulership by triplicity, so I can let things go.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't know, like, yes, it is imperfect. Ultimately, there is something interpretive in it. And I don't want to make it sound like that there's only one way to translate like three books. But I don't know. I wasn't detecting a lot of nuance in it, in most of it.
Hmm.
Like I said, I'm working on some ones now that do feel like there's more nuance or there's like a tone.
Hmm.
Um, but Agrippa was, almost nothing in the book is his own words.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so it's interesting. It's like you can have like a paragraph that will have like a quotation of like Pico della Mirandola, which is like 15th century,
Hmm.
butted up against a quote from Apuleius, which is the second century. And these are very different styles of Latin.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Well, see,
And so, like, I don't know, but you have things like that happening where you have to kind of like, you see kind of weirdness in the Latin there, but I didn't really feel a lot of like, I don't know how to say it, but it felt really clear. And Agrippa is actually like, even though he didn't write a lot of the words, I got kind of spoiled because he's very clear. Like, I don't know, it's like he has a way of writing or even a way of compiling in this case that just felt really clear to me.
do you have
Um,
goals to translate other Latin books?
Goals?
Goals, like do you have goals to
Yeah.
translate other
Yeah,
Latin books?
I'm working on one now, so
What book
possibly
is
two.
that?
The big one is Astrological Gallica by Jean-Baptiste Morin,
Okay, okay, Moran.
which
It,
is
so,
Neo-Latin. That's kind of a new experience for me.
JZ.
I have a question.
Yeah,
If it's so straightforward and just like translating words after words, what do you think of things like Google Translate or some computer program that would translate it? Is that possible or is that not possible? Is that going
it's
to
not going to be good.
mislead?
Yeah, the problem with it, I was
Why do you say
experimenting with
that?
this. Well, I was
Mhm.
experimenting with this with book I'm translating now, just for the fun of it, with Chat GPT, and um, there was a passage in Latin that quotes actually it directly quotes a book by Thomas Aquinas, and he wrote a couple of books called on the questions, and so but anyway in this quote the writer actually says the book name with like the book and chapter number and everything, and then blah 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 blah. Just for the fun of it, I put that into Chat GPT, and it translated it mostly correctly, but it changed the book for no reason.
Hmm.
And I also noticed that it it will lose sense of the sentence very easily.
Hmm.
Like it kind of it might start out okay and then like it'll start to sort of lose the subject after a bit. But you can read it and it'll make absolute sense to you. It's just not correct.
Hmm.
The thing about ChatGPT is it looks correct until you actually
Well,
translate it properly.
also, it's based on like large language models, so it depends on the training data. And it depends on
Sure.
the context and how big of a context it can hold. So, yeah, anyway. I,
And, people just think differently. I mean, people are, it's like we can keep a thread in a dialogue going very easily. Whereas if it's written kind of funny, the AI might not. It can kind of lose it. And I noticed with Google Translate, it'll just leave out words
mhm.
Interesting. So,
at random.
so I do want to,
Not saying I'll never do it, but
I do want to leave time to hear about your classes because that's a really important thing for people to hear about. And I know your class goes on for a year, right?
yeah, it's a big book.
So tell us about your class.
So basically, what we're going to do is a complete read through the book over a year, and we're going to do this in chunks. It's bi-weekly lessons. So there's going to be a chunk of chapters to read each lesson for each lesson, and then we will discuss those chapters.
Wait,
And
is bi-weekly twice a week or once every 2 weeks?
once every 2 weeks,
I was going to ask that too. Okay. All right. So you're going to meet every 2 weeks, like on what night or what
Saturday, Pacific time is 11:30
for 11 to
a.m.
what?
Hmm?
11:30 to what? How
Oh,
long?
I believe it kind of open because I'm chatty, but at least an hour and a half.
Okay.
I have a feeling some are going to be kind of complicated,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, we're going to go through it. I'm just going to analyze what we read, go through the sources if we need to. Um, and my goal is to really get people to understand the book the way it was written, because the problem with three books is it looks like a reference book, and that's how it's been used. So, like they have a chapter on the elements, for instance, and then you have a chapter on this, and then you have a chapter on that, and
Hmm.
it looks like these self-contained chapters. But what he's doing really is building this sort of like structure brick by brick. So he's like, okay, I'm going to talk about the elements here in the beginning, but then he actually goes into way deeper, like in book three.
Hmm.
So if you're just reading the one chapter, you're not really getting the full picture. So I want people to experience that. Um,
Is it
so
going to be a discussion or is it mainly you reading and analyzing?
no, it's going to be a discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
so
I'm going to
will
break down. I'm going to break down each reading assignment, um, and kind of discuss major points, and then obviously have discussion. People are going to have questions.
Mhm.
do you got to sign up for the whole year?
Yeah,
Hmm.
Hmm.
And then what if you
yeah.
miss a few classes?
What's recorded?
Ah,
Okay.
right on.
Yeah, I mean, because this is again, people have asked me like, oh, can we just do? I just want to learn about book one and two. That's it. And I'm like, I'm just not going to offer that.
Hmm.
That's not what the book's about.
Hmm. Yeah, I want one book of occult philosophy.
It technically is.
I know. I'm just
It
I want
technically
I
is.
want
It's just
point three books of occult philosophy.
I want
well, there's the thing.
philosophy, just the
Talk
first two.
philosophy. Well, see, the thing is it's called. So the three books are like they're divided into the three parts of the world or the universe. The first one is on the natural world. The second is the celestial world, and the third one is on the divine world.
Mhm.
And and like I said, all the individual little subjects in the book are revisited back and forth throughout the entire work. I mean, he defines magic in the first chapter.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, well, that's cool. That I feel like so what can people expect if they spend a year with you? What will happen to them?
Um, Give up on reading. Um, what I hope is, and this is kind of my desire for the esoteric community in general, is I want to get people out of relying on technical data um, only. So I want people to learn how to construct kind of a worldview. And really, you have all these books on. I'll give you a great example. The book I'm translating, half the book's been translated already in English. And which half do you think that was? It was the technical material.
Hmm.
No one's translated everything else that he does
Hmm.
or has. And the reason, and that's a problem I think we have right now in the esoteric community is that we have all these people doing techniques and arguing about techniques, having pet techniques, selling tech classes on the techniques, writing books about the techniques, but nobody's telling you why you're doing this to begin with, or what is astrology, what astrology and magic is in the world. And currently, like all of us are raised in this like 21st century um, scientific worldview, basically scientific materialism. And I don't look at reality as a binary scientific materialism versus spiritual worldview, but we're definitely skewed in one direction. And so even if you are a full believer of spirits, partaker of spirits, there's like this little bit of your brain that thinks you're crazy or doesn't know how to like fit this in with the rest of reality. So a lot of us just have this split brain thing going on where, it's like we need science to do X, Y, Z, but then when I'm doing spirit work, that science part just kind of goes over here. And what I would like is people to develop this sort of like, I don't know, a concept of the world that's unified, where all this sort of exists in the one place. And the thing I like about this book is that, it's not about agreeing with everything in the book. I disagree parts of it. But, and it's also not about labeling yourself like a Neoplatonist or anything else, or Hermeticist or anything like that. What is Hermeticism anyway? It's kind of a vague term. And it's really about like learning how to ask the right questions, learning how to sort of like conceptualize, how do astrological influences work? Let me, but yeah, this is what Agrippa says. It's a framework that you might agree with or disagree with, but it's a point that you need to think about.
Nice.
And I don't know. I just want like I hope that people come out of this like with a new understanding of the spiritual worldview and of magic and astrology and everything else. It's like it's not about technique. I mean, magic is not about ceremonies.
Mhm. Okay. Well,
Astrology is not about like whatever Abu Mashar says. That's not what astrology is. Astrology is like interpreting a chart and like one-on-one with someone and actually having this sort of like communion happening. You
mhm.
know, as you're
All
doing
right,
this
well,
reading, that's what
we are
astrology is
out of
about.
time, but tell people where to find you so they can sign up for
You're out of
the
time.
class. Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. My website is ericpurdue.com. It's Purdue, like the school, not the chicken. Um, my Instagram is traditional esoterica. You can also just search for my name, it'll show up. And I talk a lot about on there. There's a link tree in Instagram, but on my website, there's a big fat thing in the middle that has a link to the course in it. And that is starting on Saturday, the 23rd at 11:30 a.m. And I will take it off the site at that point because latecomers are bad.
Mm. Mm.
Got to be on
I mean, I
time.
do exactly, but I do consultations, astrological consultations. I do like natal readings, and I call them spiritual readings, which is delving into someone's like spiritual path and helping. Usually, like people who come to me usually are confused or not sure where to go, or they're like at a standstill for some reason. So I help with that through astrology as well. So
Beautiful. Will you email me links so I can put them
I can
in the video? All right. Well,
I can
Eric,
do that.
it was so good to meet you a little bit further and be able to get to know you and hear what you're up to. That your translation sounds amazing, and I can't wait
Thank
to meet
you.
you someday.
Nice to see you again. Nice meeting you, Jay Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Nice to meet
right.
you.
All
All
right.
right, nice,
Bye.
nice
We'll
to meet
see
you.
you online. All right.
All right, see ya. Bye.